Let's orient ourselves with the settings area for our iPad. If you're not familiar with how to get to your settings, tap your home screen once and look for the app icon that is a set of gears. It's kind of grayish silver and it says settings. Tap that application icon once and that jumps you into settings. By default, the general tab on the left hand side will be highlighted. But let's look at a couple of other things above that before we begin. I'd like to give you some tips on how to save your battery a little bit, and a lot of those tips are in your settings. Airplane mode actually turns your network settings, and if you have a 3G device, turns off your 3G as well. So you can still use your iPad if you're flying. You just need to come into your settings and make sure that that's off. Whenever you see a switch like this, tap it with your finger and it will set it to whatever the opposite is. So in this case, on and off. If I tap it again, it turns it off. Okay? If you have a Wi-Fi access in your home or you're at a coffee shop, tap the Wi-Fi. Any available networks will show up on the left-hand side. So you can see I have one network available and I'm automatically connected to it. It's a secure network, but I've already connected, so it automatically does that for me. If I had an open network here, that would also be in the list and I could tap that. And what that does is it connects me to the internet. You can turn Wi-Fi off and on at the very top of this setting. Again, it's a tap to turn it off, a tap to turn it on. And again, because I've already connected to the BPS network, it will automatically reconnect me. How do I know that I'm connected to a network? Little side note here. If we look up in this bar right here, this is called our status bar. And on the far left-hand side, there will appear a little Wi-Fi connection. There it goes. So you can see I now have two bars. You might not be able to see that. That's pretty far away. I have two bars of connection, so not a great connection, but my Wi-Fi is turned on and I am connected. The next setting the next part of settings is notifications. Notifications can be awesome, but they do take a lot of battery power or they take up battery power, so I would recommend only turning notifications on for apps that you use a lot. So what are notifications? Here's a perfect example. I have a calendar app. And every time I add an appointment to my calendar app, when it's time for me to be at that appointment, I get notified because I have notifications turned on. Notifications are set specifically for each app. So if we look on the right-hand side, I can sort my apps for notification. Notice it says manually or by time. I have mine set by time. And then there are two segments below this. The first one is in Notification Center, and then the second one is not in Notification Center. So what this actually means is notifications are turned on for this collection of apps, but they're not turned on for this collection of apps. This is all going to be a personal choice for you. Some news apps, if you are connected to Facebook or Twitter or any of those social networks, if you have a calendar, even your email, you can decide if you want notifications turned on or not for each of those apps. Again, the fewer apps you have notifications turned on for, the more battery power you're going to have. So keep that in mind. The next thing I wanted to talk to you about is location services. Location services are used to send you information or to make your app work for the location that you're at. So for example, a perfect example of this is a GPS app. If you're trying to figure out where the coffee shop is and you're in a town that you're not familiar with and you have the 3G feature on your iPad, the location services needs to be turned on so that the device can determine your location. A lot of apps have this location services available, and again, there's two reasons I recommend being very careful with the location services. The first one obviously is battery, because when you turn location services on, it's constantly sending a signal back and forth about where the location of your device is. But secondly, it's a safety issue. If you are constantly letting everyone out on the internet know where your location is, that's pretty insecure. So you want to think long and hard, and again, this is a personal choice. I don't think you want to turn location services off completely unless you're simply using your iPad as an e-reader. Then probably you don't need this turned on. But this is a personal choice. You're just going to have to decide which of these apps you want to turn off and on. And again, it's that little tap. Tap once to turn it on, tap once to turn it off, so you can see how that works. Let's do one more option in settings, and then we'll create another video for the rest of them. I'm going to jump to brightness and wallpaper, and this is, again, I'm specifically talking about battery saving tips here. So you can see that my brightness is turned down tremendously. But I also have auto brightness turned on. In order to save more battery power, I could turn auto brightness off and then have my brightness turned quite a bit down. This just saves on your battery power, and you really don't need that bright screen unless you're doing some high-end editing, or maybe you have some visual issues that you need that brightness. So keep that in mind. This is also where you set your wallpaper for your iPad. So the wallpaper is the background screen that you see. So here's an example. When you have your apps on top and then the picture in the back, that's called your wallpaper. And there's two areas where you can set a picture for your wallpaper. The first one, as indicated here, is your lock screen. And I'll just show you what that looks like. I'm going to sleep my iPad, and then I'll turn it back on. This is your lock screen. So this picture that we're seeing right now is the wallpaper for my lock screen. Now, the wallpaper for just my general is actually exactly the same as the wallpaper for my lock screen. So you see that there are two areas, your lock screen and then just your home screen where your apps rest on. And you can actually change your wallpaper, and you get those pictures from your photos. So once you start taking some photos or downloading photos from the internet, you can actually change your wallpaper. So that's what that is about. In the next couple videos, I'll continue going through the settings and talking about a few other ways where we can save some battery power.